Well, I don't know about you, but there's nothing that calms me down, man, and mellows me out quite like some smooth jazz. At least when it's done right. Is the Studio Series 86 jazz done right? Well, we're about to find out when we dive into everything to do with this guy in the latest GotBot True review. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, man, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, and all my social media links. All of that also in the description, man. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, there's a donate link. You can check us out on Patreon, see what we offer to you through Teespring, or, of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a channel member. And this is Studio 86 Jazz. I've already looked at Cup and Blur, the other two deluxes, in that Wave 1 series so far. This is the last of the deluxes, Jazz. And, like, he's such a mixed bag, but I love him. Like, based on my experience with the mold, he is pretty tremendous. He's quite excellent. But there are certain issues that people have encountered, and I would be irresponsible if I ignored them. So as we go through, I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts, but I'm also going to give it with the caveat of some of those issues and whether or not I've encountered any of them. So without any further ado, let's head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. And this time around, we're going to be taking a look at this guy. Of course, it is the Studio Series Jazz. It is the Studio Series 86 Jazz. And this guy's come with some of his own controversy. Man, oh man, 86, man, full of the controversy lately. Now, that being said, I love this guy. But I will have to acknowledge as we go through some of the criticisms that have been levied against him. Whether, again, you share them or not, we'll see as we go. But I think he is pretty stupendous, and before we jump into him, we have to take a look at that packaging first. And it is 86 packaging. Of course, we have a nice picture of Jazz right here. Close up on his jazzy face over here. Jazz right there on that side. And on the back, of course, we have the product images. Inside the box, we have the apparent impending destruction of Moon Base 1. Nice scene. Honestly, again, I don't really have the room for it, but it is a very nice looking scene. There's no doubt about it. You can take Jazz, of course, and you know, you can place him there. He looks fine. Again, of course. Plus, them old instructions. They're okay. I don't like the Studio Series instructions as much as the Warp Cybertron instructions. I feel like the Warp Cybertron instructions are like a little bit bigger, clearer. I don't know. But these are okay. They're alright. Jazz's blaster is very jazzy. I think it's white plastic painted silver, which I'm cool with. I am also glad that the pegs on the side, like while the handle is still left white, the pegs on the side are also left white. I'm kind of okay with that because if it was silver on it, you might just have paint scrub. Anyway, I'm starting to already have some paint scrub on pegs with hot rods, so that tells you how long that lasted. But I'd rather it be left like this. At least it looks clean. And while you can hold it in his hand, using the peg on the side or on the other side, it can also like store on his back fairly flat. Kind of like that in robot mode. Speaking of Jazz's back, he comes mistransformed at a package, so we're going to take this out and we'll sort of deal with this now, and it's a bit of an elephant in the room. There's an argument to be made for just leaving the backpack like this the way it is. Maybe you're someone who more prefers the door wings, and this is about as close as you're going to get to that with this mold. It's still fairly unobtrusive if you leave it like this for articulation, because the whole thing is on one hinge, so like it still all kind of comes out. But officially what you should do, even though the instructions say to leave these out, I find it's better if you put them down kind of like you're going to car mode. But officially what you should do is, and it's a bit rough to do because all of this is in fact clear plastic, but you should be able to get this down out of the way. And like it doesn't feel the best trying to do this. I take that back. That's not true. It feels fine trying to do this when like you're not doing it on camera and you're kind of just like in closer to it. There's a white hinge. If I can show this, there's a white hinge in here. You're supposed to collapse this back piece on that white hinge in here, and then these fold in. So we have this up, and I should be able to get this down past. I don't know why it's not letting me do it at the moment on camera. There. Sheesh. I don't know what was going on there. A little bit of flashing maybe. So we do that, and then we close these in over, and then we bring this whole thing down on his back, and it is condensed and collapsed kind of like that. And it looks pretty good. I mean, does he have a bit of a backpack? Yeah, but you know what? Jazz kind of sort of did. Now that we have that done, now we can kind of focus in and start giving this guy some grades. And so here we have all three of our boys. We're going to start off with styling and look and whatnot first. The RTS one, kind of quintessential, still sort of the measuring stick. I like that one. I got it for $3 thrifting. Back in the day, it was 91 grams of plastic, and it was an excellent jazz. He did have the door wings that always bothered me personally, but some people preferred it because it's the way that the Diaclone was. It's the way that the G1 plastic and die cast was, and some people prefer that, and that's cool. I always wished that they could fold down to give a more cartoon silhouette, but they didn't. Nevertheless, it is stupendously well made, and at 91 grams, he was also hefty and solid. On the far end, is a jazz that belongs to one of the scraplets. I did a custom for him in G1 like colors, and he clocks in at only 61 grams, very small for deluxe, but we had a whole lot of like bad economy, oil prices gone nuts, like a lot of kind of production economic factors back in 2012. But this guy was also very cheap in 2012. Yes, he was only 61 grams, which is pretty bad. But he was also only $12.97 Canadian. I usually got him on sale for about $9 or $10, and that's the way I got that jazz, was on sale. Right smack dab in the middle of them for, it depends on the store you buy them now here in Canada, it's either $29.99 or $32.99. We have Studio Series Jazz who clocks in at 72 grams. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen a deluxe come in at 72 grams. We saw it with Reflector. We saw it with, I want to say maybe some of the like Fembots. We saw it with, I think, Mirage, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe Sunstreaker. There's a few of them that obviously Hasbro's trying to shift their valuation to a lower amount of plastic for deluxes. Instead of being the traditional, say, 84, they're trying to shift it down to about 72. If you accept that, cool. I can take a slight reduction in plastic if you put other features with it to enhance it. In this case, the guy has a ton more paint than what a deluxe usually has, and he has an ankle tilt, which until recent times wasn't traditionally something that a deluxe has. I don't think they can afford to take any more product away. I really don't. I think you've hit your ceiling to what you can take away for the cost that you're trying to sell it at. But I feel like that this jazz ekes out being worth his value as a deluxe. And he looks the part. If we look at the Studio Series Jazz, honestly, starting right from the bottom up, I mean, his feet are supposed to be this silvery color. The legs are correct. On his pelvis, we're supposed to have the blue. That might be a bit of a deeper blue than we're supposed to have. His tummy section should be silver. His lights are supposed to be blue. His grill is supposed to be silver. And then up on his chest, we should have a blue section with not about symbol. Indeed, we do. The eyes blue, the face gray. Even on his arms, the hands should be black. The forearms should be white. The shoulders should be black. The styling is there. This is quintessentially jazz. The only thing we're missing, and I do believe you can get stickers to remedy this, is the fenders down by his feet should have pinstriping of like light blue with a red in the center of it. That's it. That's all he's missing. Honestly, this is really, really close to perfect for animation. I'm going to say it's a solid 9.5, 9.75. It's almost perfect. Oh, what about the articulation on the guy? Well, we do have a head that goes left, right, kind of up, kind of down. The shoulders, they can go all the way around. out to the side, and we do have like an armpit there which folds in. Like part of the arm here is hollow, but I accept it because of the way the hinge is done. Like if you're not gonna have, like if it was just a ball peg, then the ball peg would be in there all the time. If we're gonna use hinge swivel like they have here, cool. It means that we're gonna have a hollow section of the arm because the hinge needs to go in there. It gotta go somewhere. So I'm cool with that. We do have a bicep swivel. We do have an elbow to 90 degrees. No wrist swivel. That's a bummer. I think the forearms are a little lackluster. As far as I'm concerned, we've gotten used now to having a wrist swivel with the mushroom peg, and they could have definitely had a little flap there for the arm to be able to go in. Here's an example of where they've cut some of the plastic that I feel like for the valuation that they're giving us, for the cost they're asking us to pay, that, you know what, that little kind of spit polish of the wrist swivel and the forearm being filled in, I think we should have had it at this price point. Then we have a waist, which I'm cool with, obviously. The legs can go not all the way out to the side, but out that far. And we do have a really deep ankle tilt, so like he can still get quite the stance. Range of motion would be nice if it was slightly more, but all the way forward, all the way back. Thigh swivel built inside again. While I don't understand why this is hollow, but I'll say this, at least the crossbar support in there seems like it's molded like a strut or something, like a, I don't know, like a shock or something. So like it's not just there, it almost looks like mechanical working, so I almost accept it because of the way it's molded. We have a knee to 90 degrees, but because of transformation, if you want, you could sort of break the knee sculpt and get a super deep knee. A couple of shortcuts I'm starting to see be taken that I don't like. The forearms, a little bit of a shortcut, you know, the loss of the wrist articulation, little bit of a shortcut. I'm going to say that the articulation is mostly there. We're missing the wrist, and that's about it. The range of motion on the hips could be a little bit more to get us full splits, but again, you can get some great dynamic poses with the guy. I'm going to say solid 9.5 again. It's there. The only thing that's unfortunate really is too bad that the forearms have that hollowness to them. So far, the guy's getting about a 9.5. It's excellent jazz. Now we get to the transformation, and that's where the elephant in the room comes in. Because the entire backpack section is, the design of it I think is kind of threatened, I'll call it, in two ways. One, it's all made of clear plastic. Now, while I often defend clear plastic and say I've never had an issue specific to it any better or worse than regular plastic, that does bring me to issue number 2. And issue number 2 is that the entire backpack section is on one hinge. I'm going to kind of open this out now because we're going to have to do it anyway. So we bring the doors down. We come in here to this section inside on the white hinge, and we bring it out. And we line it up. And the entire thing is on this hinge in here. I'm going to focus on that hinge for a moment because we got to talk about this, man. Okay, so here's the infamous, like, top of the car hinge. What you have, as you can see, is you have a white piece. And that white piece is kind of in between two other white pieces on a pin down there. And then it extends up and it's between two clear pieces on a separate pin. Why? Because that whole hinge for vehicle mode needs to kind of sort of collapse, and then going back to robot mode, you need to sort of pull it back out. It is a bit of a weird hinge. Now, if it's true that clear plastic is more brittle or more prone to breakage, then if you have a hinge that A, is pinned, and B, you actually have to push and collapse and then pull and expand again, making it from a material that is well known to break seems like a major design flaw. I don't see any stress marks on mine. I have had no issues, but I have seen examples of this A, cracking at the hinge, and B, the entire roof section just plain crumbling to bits for some people. I don't know if it was a bad batch or what. I've transformed this guy often. I am somewhat more delicate with him than I am with others. But I don't feel the issues. But I got to acknowledge they're there. I got to acknowledge that they are there. And that is going to affect the score objectively for the transformation. Even though I haven't experienced it, it is a well-known common issue that a lot of people have. And it is a design flaw that honestly is a fatal design flaw. Okay, so 9.5 we're doing good. We've talked about that hinge, which is a bit of a scary thing. Now we're going to continue the transformation. And we have the whole section here come up. What's interesting is there's a white piece, and a lot of people forget to fold it in all the way, but you do, because the silver here actually got two little starts on it that go up into that white piece to solidify the chest into the lower body. I've seen some people say the chest doesn't tab in, but then when I look at the pictures, this little white flap here is down in front of what is essentially the abdomen area. You gotta fold it in. It does make kind of getting the head a little bit more cumbersome, but it is something that you gotta do. So we bring that up, and it feels like it's on a soft ratchet when you bring that up, so it might feel like it's gonna break a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna. The head, that flap section there, the head comes down and rotates all the way around to have a little blue section come up, and then that flap also comes up and fills in the hood section. So I'm cool with that. That's the way that is. It's engineered a bit weird for down there, and sometimes I do find that this flap and can you see it? The other white one that his head is on here, I find that sometimes they do like to kind of get across each other, and it can be a little finicky. It's a minor thing. Thank goodness that's not on clear plastic. Then we rotate the arms, as is kind of familiar with Jazz and some other of the like GotBots. We turn the arm, and we fold in the hand, and we turn the arm so that this peg is on the outside. We also want to turn the legs around and turn that all around. The silver abdomen section is on a separate piece from the rest of the upper body. So you turn the legs around, and then you kind of hold on to the silver piece, and you turn the upper body around. It's tight the first time, but then it's pretty smooth thereafter. Once we got that done, this arm that we had here, we can now push up into position. On the other side, we come over, we fold in our hand, we begin to fold out the tire. It folds out from the top. We bring this around and adjust our arm accordingly, and we bring it up. Again, we have those tabs on the outside. Underneath should basically look like this. Is that all good? I think we're all good there. Should basically look like that. Now we're going to deal with the legs, and the legs are pretty easy. You bring up the tires on both sides. You bring up the toes, and then you collapse the leg, and you collapse the leg, and you tab them together. Now, if you break that hinge, that is the roof. This is it. This is what you're going to have for your car mode. Because you're not going to have a roof, you're not going to have doors. It's as simple as that. He'll still be able to get in a car mode, but I guess you would have to call it Cybertronian. And nothing would really solidify the front and the back of the car. By the way, I do love the silver on the rims or the hubcaps or whatever you want to call it. It's too bad the center here is black and different, but whatever. Now at this point, what you should do is be able to bring down the roof. And when you bring down the roof, you should have two clear tabs here that lock in back here. Then on the doors you have little rectangular tabs that lock over the little nubs, I guess, on the forearms, and then you got to collapse that hinge down. Some people have said that they can't get the front here exactly flush. Some have said that it's because there's flashing on the clear plastic. Some have said that there's flashing on the white plastic, and some have said that it just seems like there's ever so slight of an issue of tolerance there, and they've actually had to just sand down a little bit. I haven't had to do that, but a lot of people have. So there are tolerances, I guess, issues and variations throughout here. So we bring this down, and this is the part that I am, I don't know, nervous about, I suppose. So we bring all that down, and we tab it in. We bring that down and tab it in. And we bring all this down on the side, and we tab it. Oop. Should be able to tab that in. I'm just going to clean this up, but boom, in the end, here we have Jazz in his vehicle mode. Now you may notice I don't even have the other two in their vehicle modes because this is hands down about as quintessential of a Jazz as we're gonna get. Is this officially licensed? I don't know. Is this slightly stylized from what he should be from the actual car model? Maybe, but I look at this and I'm like, yeah, that's G1 all to pieces. What is missing here? Well, again, this is where we have a slight variation to his paint, and it's another reason why it's down to the 9.5 instead of being even higher. We do have the blue on the hood, we do have the red going back all the way on the hood and on the roof. We do even have the black up by the windshield. Cool. We're missing again on the side over the tires, and we have a 14 instead of a 4. I don't know why they opted to do that, but I know it's apparently a nod to the fact that this was the 14th car bot that was ported over from Diaclone to become part of Transformers. So it's a nod to the original Diaclone being the 14th thing ported over, and so they put the 14 here. Some people find it really jarring. I don't, but I understand if you do. And it is inaccurate, to be fair. Again, it's one of those things that it has to go marked down a bit. Truth is, I'm saying 9.5. It might, by rights, be about a 9. Like, instead of being now and overall, based on articulation and paint, a 9.5, maybe this guy should be a 9.25, you know? It's almost there. And the other thing that's weird is that we have different color whites here. Like, there's this white plastic, but then the hinge, I guess, of the wheel well of the front tire is a different white, and then the paint on the roof is slightly different again, and then there's sections just here on the side that the white looks a little different again. I think that this is one of those cases where if you want to leave him the way he is, which is what I'm going to do, cool, but if you are in for a sticker set, this is a guy who probably could really use the sticker set. The transformation, I think, is great. I think the transformation is fun and interesting, and I want to mark it at a solid 9. But that being said, there are people who have had issue with the breakage of that roof hinge at this point. They've had issue with the front lining up, and they've even had some like issues of things pegging in properly. Cool, fine, I get it. There's a number of issues that people have encountered with this guy, so they would probably say, hey, the transformation is more like an 8 because there are finicky and dangerous aspects to it. I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to say that the transformation is an 8.5. Not quite as high as I'd give it. Probably not quite as low as what somebody else might give it. And if you actually had yours break, then you're probably saying fail. 0 for transformation, it broke. I would totally understand that too. In my experience with the mold, I'm going to say overall he is a 9. I think he barely makes the cut for having enough value to justify his price point. Like, they can't cut anything else with him, but I think he does justify his price point. He does roll like a champion, by the way. I do wish we had some paint on taillights back here too. But if you encountered a breakage issue with him and he's a complete fail, honestly, I would totally understand that too. So he's a 9, but with the caveat that you don't encounter QC issues. And this guy, unfortunately, is riddled with a bunch of them. And here we are, and here he is, and like, I think he's tremendous. In terms of looks, before, this was my Jazz, and I loved him, and I did some custom paint on him, and he pretty much filled the bill except for the door wings. It never sat right with me personally. It's not my jam. But he's still a tremendous Jazz, and if you're thinking, I'm just going to keep my RTS, I can't argue with you. I really can't, because he's tremendous. Hefty, bulky, great for the time. Then we have the new guy. The new guy is beautiful. Like, he embodies Jazz almost perfectly. The articulation is excellent. Like, I think the articulation here is excellent, but the chest locks in nicely here. The ankle tilt is nice. We have a broad range of motion on all the joints. I do wish that the forearms were filled over and we had a wrist, but that's about it. Then the transformation. I think the transformation is also really good. It is logical, it makes sense, it's clever, there's plenty of parts that move. And then of course we have the elephant in the room, which is the issue with that hinge that you have to push and pull on. I think it was probably a mistake to use materials that are known to have issues. I haven't encountered it, but I've heard of people who did. To me, the transformation is excellent. But if you've encountered the issues of cracking or breaking or outright crumbling, then the transformation's a failure. This guy's a failure. He's excellent, but he comes with the caveat that because of the translucent plastic, he may end up being a failure. And that is really sad for something that is actually quite excellent. To each and every person out there, I hope that your copy, is as solid and positive of an experience as mine is. But for those who haven't had a positive experience with this, I'm really sorry for you, because you honestly, as a fan and as a consumer, deserved better. Let me know what you think about jazz. I appreciate you guys coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you are in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we offer to you through Teespring. Or, of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us, man. And don't forget that somehow, someway, each and every single day you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way, right here inside the videos.